So when I first had my daughter, which is almost 2 years ago now, I found myself in quite an extreme state of postnatal anxiety. I became very obsessed with sleep and sleep routines and trying to get a baby to sleep and all that sort of stuff, which a lot of mums go through. Unfortunately, it can lead to a lot of stress and a lot of strain and a lot of anxiety, which I experienced. So I did seek some help in those early months, which helped me a lot. And obviously I was doing a lot better for quite a long time. My anxiety was fairly well managed. I started to get the hang of motherhood, dealing with baby, that sort of thing. Anyway, fast forward to, actually probably started at the very beginning of this year. So I think even like New Year's Day. So like January 1, 2020, something happened. I found myself starting to get into a little bit of upheaval. I started to find that the anxiety was coming back. I was a bit stressed about some family commitments and what I was going to do with work and business and making money and all sorts of things, all the things that life kind of throws at you. I found myself thinking about. So what happened for me was that I started to lose control of managing that anxiety again, and it started to get quite bad. So towards the end of January, I took the first step and I went to speak to a counsellor again. I went and saw my doctor and they got me in contact with speaking to someone. So that sort of happened at the end of January, and it made for a perfect opportunity for February to be, for the challenge that I set myself for February to be a month of mindfulness. Because when I went to see the counsellor, she wanted me to start practicing some mindfulness in an effort to, be able to, I guess, gain control or let go of control, which is kind of what that's about, but about being able to be, centered and at one with myself and connected to the world. So I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown on how my 29 days of mindfulness has gone. Okay, so I started out really well. I started meditating every day, which is not something that I've ever really been able to do. I really struggle with sitting down and not doing anything, just sort of I can't focus my brain on nothing, which is kind of what meditation is all about. It's like letting go of everything in your brain. And I'm not very good at that. Every time I've tried in the past, I find myself I'll be good for, a couple of minutes, and then I'll be like, my brain will start to tick. I'm like, well, I've got to do this and this and this and this. And then I'll think about something else. Oh, couldn't I do that? Or maybe, what if I went there? I could make such and such. And so my brain, and you can tell, even just the way I'm saying it to you, that's how my brain thinks. It's just always going, always going, always going. So I kind of brushed off meditation as something that I'm not really very good at. But I find the good thing about having a counselor or a mentor or a teacher or something like that is that accountability that comes with it. So she basically had set me some homework to do, and because someone was expecting me to do it and then I'd have to go back the next week and tell her that I had done it, I found myself going, well, I'm actually going to do it. So I tried doing it every day, and I did find that it was helping me. So I have a couple of different apps on my phone that I tried. I used Headspace, I used the Insight Timer, there's a couple of other ones that I was looking at as well. I tried to do it in the morning, and I especially was doing it at night before I went to sleep, because I do find that my anxiety really kicks in at night time. Even if I'm dead tired, I'll get into bed and my brain will just start to whir, because if you're a parent, you'll probably understand, especially if you're a mother who spends all your waking hours with your children, it's very hard to find time to have brain space, to think about the things that are going on in your head and in your life and in your world. So for me, usually that time is after my daughter has gone to bed, but even then I've got stuff to do. So it's kind of when I go to bed, my brain goes, okay, now I can think. So I would find a lot that getting to sleep was really hard, and when I've only got a certain number of hours in the night to get that sleep before I've got to get up and keep going with my daughter again the next day, it meant that I was struggling to get to sleep and therefore was having poor sleep. So by doing the meditation before I went to sleep, I definitely found that was helping. The other thing that I found, so with the meditation, I'm probably not doing it oh no, that's not a lie. Okay, so I'm not necessarily doing the guided meditations on my phone every day now. Probably every couple of days I'm doing it, but I'm taking some of the the exercises that some of those meditations do, and I'm applying them myself when I need to, because I think that's I mean, you can use the guided ones, of course, but obviously it's the actual practice of like slowing yourself down and reconnecting. So I've been taking some of those practices and I've been doing them myself, either when I'm in bed or if I'm out or driving. Obviously I don't close my eyes when I'm driving, but I've been trying to use those practices when I need to. So that's what I've been doing with the meditation. So the second thing that I have found helpful with my mindfulness practice for February, and this is a weird one, and it actually started before I was doing the mindfulness thing, but then I realized as I'd started meditating and the process that it was, the way that it was allowing me to sort of slow down and sort of, regain focus again, was I realized that this other practice was doing that for me as well. And it sounds really odd, but sometimes at night I would ask my husband to just like do like tickles, like run his fingers around on my back, and the physical, I think it's the physical touch, the focusing on something that's not your brain or whatever has a great impact for me. I really like that feeling. There's nothing weird about it. There's certainly nothing sexual about it or anything like that. It's just purely a human touch on human touch, and it's the sensation of that sort of tickle on my skin. For me, it's on my back that works, but I find that when he does that for me, and I notice the same thing with the meditation, is that my brain will be whirring up here, whirring, but the longer it happens and the more I find myself focusing on the pattern that his finger traces along my back, whether it's on the side or across my shoulder, slowly I feel like the levels of anxiety and the levels of like the pace of my thoughts sort of comes down, and I physically feel the change in my body. And then by the time he stops, I never go to sleep because it doesn't, like I'm still thinking and stuff like that. It's, for some people something like that might work, like a massage or something, whatever, might help someone actually go to sleep. But I find it just brings me to a point when I can then continue on myself, whether I'm just running through exercises in my mind, I might do an actual meditation, but it really helps center me again. And so I think for me, having someone else be a part of that mindfulness exercise, and as I said, the skin on skin touch is really helpful for me. The third thing that's really helped me with my mindfulness challenge this month has been again, something linked to sleep, because I think so much is linked to sleep and how well you rest your body and rest your mind and things like that. So the third thing that I found has been the use of pink noise at night when I sleep. So obviously I'd say almost everyone has heard of white noise. Pink noise is very similar to white noise. We've used it for our daughter ever since the day she was born. Pink noise is a little bit softer, a little gentler for sleep than white noise. White noise can be a little bit harsh, a little bit brash, but pink noise is a little bit softer. So as I said, we've always used that for our daughter because it gives a level field for like for your brain waves and sleep and stuff like that. Whatever the scientific thing is behind it. But what I find it does for me is that, first of all, the best thing for your brain is actually silence. So it's the best chance for your brain to regenerate, to rest, to process everything that it's learned in the day, things like that. However, unless you live and sleep in a concrete box or like a sensory deprivation tank, it's very hard to get silence, especially if you have someone else in the room with you. So if you sleep with someone beside you in the bed, it's very hard to get silence to the point where your brain can just relax. And especially also if you're a fairly light sleeper like I am, it's even more so now since I've had a child. I'm quite a light sleeper, like any noise will wake me up. But there were a couple of factors that made me want to use it, which was the fact that my husband snores, bless his socks. The traffic noises don't bother me too much, but it was mostly that my husband snores, but also we have this psychotic neighbour who plays loud, obnoxious music at all hours of the day and night and everything between, and anyway, we've had a lot of, that's a separate thing. But the noise used to really instigate, like the anxiety used to just build up in me when I'd hear his music start, because I knew it would go for hours and I couldn't block it out because I needed silence. And then Luke would snore, and then all of the baby would wake up or whatever, and it was just drive me crazy. So I first started doing it to block out the sound of my neighbour. I would put the pink noise on when I went to sleep What I find though is that I don't get bothered so much by anything else. So I'm waking less, I'm waking in the morning feeling more rested because it's delivered me a constant gentle stream of sound throughout the night. So I do find that having some noise, obviously it's quite low, but something that's constant, it also gives me something to focus on when I'm falling asleep. So that's what I've been doing for sleeping at night. I know I look a bit tired today because my child has been sick and so she's not sleeping at all. But that's been probably the 3 things that I've been using this month for my mindfulness challenge. So that's my little update on my mindfulness challenge for February. I didn't video about the start of it because I only decided to video about it today. And I didn't video about my January challenge. So January was about like reducing my excessive spending on just like random stuff. Anyway, moving forward, we're looking at March, and I put out a poll on Instagram about what people might like to do in terms of the challenge for March. And I think we're going to go with no sugar, which is a really hard one for me. I've tried it multiple times and it doesn't, I mean, it lasts for a certain amount of time, but then it doesn't. So I'm probably going to go ahead with that. But I'm going to do a separate video to kick off the month of March doing no sugar. So stay tuned for that one. And if you feel like joining me, follow me on socials. All the links and everything are at the end of the video and below. And let's keep doing our monthly challenges and make 2020 awesome.